Steve Alcorn's a fine investigator. What he's doing with this Chris dude, I have no idea.
I gave her cigarettes for our anniversary one year.
Well, there you go. That's fucking romantic.
She didn't like gifts. I said, well, I want to get you something. What do you want? Let's give me a couple packs of cigarettes. So I wrapped them up and gave them to her.
Yeah, have some lung cancer.
You got a dead Bigfoot that's just been shot, hanging upside down in a tree. Though Meldrum was also careful to note, it's not a course about Bigfoot.
It's a course about Fozzie Bear. Who's Fozzie Bear? Some say his father was half grizzly. Nobody believed he was real. As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a Muppet. To me, that was better than being president of the United States.
They upped my meds last night, so anything's possible. We're laughing at a story about dead people. I can't explain it, but it sure makes me feel like the spirits are happy.
I mean, I guess you could say it might have been somebody's hand moving real quick, but it's not a fucking ghost.
The jury's still out on that.
See, your hoaxes come at you with smiles. They come as your friends.
Pope Francis says doggy heaven is real, so your dog has a soul.
Ah, so now the dogs can hang out with the pedophiles.
Not Benedict, Francis, Pope Francis.
No, I'm just guilt by association, Steve.
Yeah, that's probably true. That's what they say when they talk about me and you.
Yeah, there you go. Hello, people, and welcome to the Fortean Slip. This is episode 66. The Weatherman Is A Prophet episode. Although a very fucking horrible one.
Generally.
Oh, dear Jesus. In the wake of, you're gonna get 2 feet of snow, and I wake up to fucking 2 inches. What the fuck is that?
Could be worse.
All I heard, we're gonna get hit with another blizzard. It's gonna be 38 mile an hour sustained winds, 50 mile an hour gusts. It's gonna snow at a rate of 2 inches an hour. We're all fucked. Oh my God.
Don't you love how the weathermen...
Jim Cantori is sitting there with a big fucking erection, just pre-cum, just leaking out of the end of his dick, with his LL Bean blue fucking Weather Channel jacket on, waiting to be standing in the fucking road with wind just whipping by him. I wish someone would hire a linebacker. I fucking wish, more than anything in the world, that they could just get the entire fucking defensive line of the Patriots when he's in Boston to just fucking cream him.
Well, earlier, that must be your local weatherman?
No, that's fucking Jim Cantori from the Weather Channel.
From the Weather Channel.
Fucking...
We had those guys show up here in Erie earlier this year for this big, huge storm that was supposed to happen, and of course, same thing. Nada. They didn't get a damn thing.
It was. We're gonna get a foot to 2 feet. It was 12 to 24, and then it was 12 to 18, and then they downgraded it to 8 to 12, and then it was 6 to 12. But we're still gonna have the high winds, and we are having the high winds. So I mean, there's that. But
I like how they, once the storm doesn't come, they stand by the biggest snowbank they can find, and then still make it sound like we got a ton of snow.
Well, it isn't hard to find a fucking snowbank up here right now. We've gotten so much snow.
Here either.
Holy shit! But yeah, after hearing all this bullshit, and weathermen do technically try to predict the future, albeit using technology. But I thought it would be interesting to talk about, this idea of predicting the future using technology and causality, and whether or not the world, reality, what we live in is one big if-then statement. Because ultimately that's what they're saying when they look at weather and predicting the future of weather patterns. It's it's basically saying, okay, if this happens, and then this happens, then this has to happen. Based on what happened forever ago. But if that's the case, then based on what we know about what's happened, we should be able to accurately predict the future all the time. But we can't.
Not even close.
So, what is it? Is it just that we can't understand or fathom the amount of information that needs to be processed?
I don't know. I don't think it's possible to accurately predict the future at all, to be honest with you. I know there's that computer program. I can't remember the name of what they call it right now, but it's used.
Yeah, it was in the Captain America movie.
Yeah, but I mean, it's been around for several years, and they take like, oh geez, I had the name of it right on the tip of my tongue, but they take, it scours the internet and looks for certain things, and then it puts them all together, and it supposedly accurately predicts the future. Of course, you can't, just like any other prophecy or prediction, you don't see it till after the fucking event happened,
Right.
So they make it, obviously what's going on there is, the data is fitting the preconceived idea. So, but I can't.
Well, the idea of data and predicting the future using technology fascinates me. Because if you look at data long enough, you can definitely see trends. Especially in stuff that's set in motion in a certain way. Now, chaotic data, I don't know that there's any way to, predict the stock market or weather patterns or whatnot. But there are ways to not so much accurately predict, but project within, a certain amount of tolerances,
Right.
Where data is going to go.
Oh, by the way, I looked it up. The name of that program is WebBot.
A webbot.
WebBot.
And it's just running around, collecting information. It's becoming sentient. It's going to be Skynet in another 10 years.
The guy who created it his name is Cliff High. Basically what it does is monitors news articles, blogs, forums, and all that kind of stuff, and then puts that all together, looks for certain, things in there, and then predicts the future. Does it work? Probably not.
Well,
They claim to have predicted Hurricane Katrina and a couple other things, so I don't know.
I tend to think, especially with weather patterns and stuff like that, I think if we had enough of the data, then it is completely possible. Weather patterns definitely are, they interact with one another, and it's completely global. I think that if there's enough data, but I just think that the data set is so huge that in order to process all that data, I don't know that it's possible to do, but I think that the data is there.
Well, obviously, at this point, it's not an exact science. I mean, my local weatherman gets it right maybe 50% or less than.
Well, you live next to that humongous fucking lake. That fucks your weather pattern up every single time.
Well, it does, but they can still, predict certain events. They know when.
Yeah, they can predict that you're going to get fucking buried in snow every year.
Especially, I mean, I live within walking distance of the lake. I mean, it's 200 yards from me, so it's not like I can't,
So there's an arch over your driveway where your car goes out through.
Pretty much. Well, there's an arch across the street, actually. No, but we get, the lake effect snow. And all lake effect snow is the lake is still warmer than the air, so when the wind comes over it causes snow to be made. And then, of course, south of us, they get it. They don't get it as bad, but it's pretty shitty weather around here sometimes. But, the saying around here is, if you don't like the weather, stick around for 5 minutes, it'll change.
That's the fucking same thing they say here.
Well, yeah, but it's true here.
And Maine definitely has interesting fucking weather patterns. That's for damn sure. This little whatever you want to call it that we just had. I mean, I was out driving in it last night, and I can tell you, while it was going on at that point, it was it was pretty shitty for that little bit of time. But it didn't wind up being anything major. And we're gonna have some nice snow drifts where the wind's blowing like a son of a bitch today. But it just baffles me all these times that I see the big hoopla, oh my god, we're gonna die, we're gonna be trapped in our houses, it's crazy, there's gonna be an avalanche on flat land.
If these guys were on YouTube, you know what we'd be calling them? Click whores. That's all they are.
The media's been that forever.
Right.
Forever.
People still complain about it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, they're a fear-mongering business. If they can make people fearful, people will tune in.
Right. Absolutely.
It's that way with the Weather Channel. It's that way with CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. I don't give a fuck what it is. It's all the same. Hey, I want people to fucking click. Of course I'm going to fucking sit there and say, hey, this is what we're talking about today.
Yeah, I'm a self-admitted click whore.
Yeah, I mean...
No problem with that.
But when I sit down in front of the microphone, you're not hearing bullshit. You're not hearing me fucking sit there and blow smoke up your ass. And that's the one thing that makes me sleep better at night.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, though. I should have become a weatherman because I do my job 50% of the time. I'll get fired. They do their job like 25% of the time, and they're like the best weatherman ever.
Come on now, Steve. That's a fucking horrid statement, though. If you really think,
if
you really think about it, okay? Because they are doing their job. Like they're looking at the weather patterns. They're they're going through the motions. They're doing their job. Now,
nowadays, I don't believe they are. I think what they're doing is sitting there. They get all this information from NOAA or whatever, and it's already there for them. They just read it, pretty much.
Yeah, but somebody's fucking doing it.
Do you think your local meteorologist sits there and compiles all the data himself?
No, they're getting it from the National Weather Service.
Right.
But they're all getting it from the same place. So all they're doing is, they're fucking, God, I can't even think right now. They're broadcasting that statement from the National Weather Service in their weird and wacky ways. The only thing is with the Weather Channel, we all have our local weather and all that bullshit. But we don't have like a Weather Channel and then another Weather Channel and then another Weather Channel. Like, so there's not like the Fox News of weather channels. There's not
God, that would suck, wouldn't it?
Could you imagine if there was like fucking 3 weather channels and they all had different forecasts?
We have 3 local stations here. Actually 4. Two of them, they're all affiliated pretty much, even though that one's Fox and one's ABC, whatever. But anyway, you get 3 different forecasts every time. It's fucking stupid. One will say sunny and 50, one will say rainy and 45, that kind of thing. It's just
it's fucking Chris Matthews doing a fucking weather show.
What would they call that?
I don't know.
It shows hard.
Fucking right? Asshole with the weather. I don't know.
Don't write on there. Ice ball with Chris Matthews. That's what it would be. I don't know.
Today we're going to talk about the lake effect snow with Steve.
How about Brian Williams?
Brian Williams. Fucking,
he's a good liar.
He should predict the weather. He should become a weatherman now. He's fucking perfectly fit.
We figured it out. See, everybody's worried about Brian Williams' future, How are they going to make money now? Well, we just figured it out. Thank you. You're welcome, Brian Williams.
That's right. Become a fucking weatherman. You can stand outside with Jim Cantori.
And you can lie all you want. And you won't get fired.
Jesus Christ. But I know that there are, I've talked about instances where I have quote unquote seen future events. So like I said, I don't know that whether or not those things are the brain, which is basically a fucking computer, processing the data set properly.
Well, we've talked about it on the Nostradamus show we did. I've seen that too, small glimpses of the future. But can anybody accurately predict anything? Computer or not? I don't know. I don't think you can actually predict the future accurately. You might see a glimpse of the future, or you might see something from the future, but you're not going to be able to tell anybody what time, date, all that kind of stuff generally. Is it possible? It may be. I don't know. I'm still looking for proof that anybody can accurately do it, and I haven't seen any.
It begs the question of what is reality when you get down to that fundamental level, I think, because if you're looking at it in a predictable way, then everything is causation. Everything is this causes this, causes this, causes this, causes this. If this happens, then this happens. And if that is the case, then everything should have been predicted from the moment of the inception of the universe. If everything is based on the event which happened before it, then every inch of time, as we perceive it, should be laid out.
But yeah, but somebody would have to, mine all that data and figure it all out.
Exactly, but that's my point being is that the data for that is there. But like I said, if that's the case, then it begs the question of what is reality? Is there free will, or are we destined to live a life based on the moment we were born, based on choices and things that happened forever ago?
Well, your life could be mapped out, but it could be mapped out on several different maps. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it depends.
Like I said, it begs those really philosophical, weird questions of, is this the Matrix? Are we a computer program? Is the universe a hologram? Which science is looking into. All of those things are being looked into in actual fundamental research, not like bullshit research. There are actual scientists trying to fucking measure these things.
But to accurately predict the future of the entire world, I don't think we'd ever be capable of that. Because how many people are in the world? Billions, man. You'd have to know what this guy's doing, and that guy's doing, and this guy's doing, and that lady's doing, and this kid's doing, all at the same time. And if this guy does this and that guy does that, and, I don't think there would be an accurate way to determine.
Well, that's the thing.
I guess you could.
We can't comprehend that data set. But maybe...
I don't even think they could build a computer to do it.
That's the thing. But maybe there is an artificially intelligent being that hasn't been created yet that can. And I think that goes down those, that rabbit hole of what is life, what is sentience, what is... I recently saw the Imitation Game. Have you seen that, Steve?
You're asking me if I've seen a movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot who I was talking to. Oh, I'm sorry, Steve. It's early.
I did watch a movie yesterday, actually. I watched, I can't remember the name of it, but it was about this lady who was a blogger, and she did all of Julia Child's recipes from her book, and it was pretty good, actually.
Oh. Yeah, that relates. No, The Imitation Game, Steve, stars one of my favorite actors of present time, Benedict Cumberbatch. The fucking guy is amazing. And he plays a gay... I don't know if he's a scientist or a mathematician. I can't remember exactly. He was in... he broke codes, but he was an inventor. He all kinds of different things. But he had to hide being gay because in Great Britain at the time it was illegal. But they hired him to help break the Enigma code that the Germans were using. And he developed a computer to do that. And the reason he wound up developing this computer is this weird thing where he fell in love with this, other boy when he was younger. That boy died, and he never got over it.
Right.
And he was creating this machine, this computer, to replicate that person. Ultimately, that's what he wanted. That was his end game. But he was trying to create an artificially intelligent machine. But
a gay one.
Maybe a gay one.
Yeah.
But this machine broke the Enigma code. He figured out how to break the Enigma code. And then they later on chemically castrated him after the war because they caught him, with a man, or that he got,
right.
I don't know exactly how that all went down, and he wound up committing suicide. This guy that basically...
That's based on true events?
What's that?
That's based on true events?
Yeah, that shit actually went down.
I'd like to see that one. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it's a very good movie. But those the tests that they do for artificial intelligence are based on his work. It's called the Turing test. And it that, like I said, it goes down those questions of morality of what is the human brain? Can the human brain be replicated with wires and programming, software? Is that all possible? Is a fucking... do you got a lute player in the background?
That was the phone going off.
Oh.
Of course. Every time we do a show, it doesn't matter if we do it in the evening. We could be doing this at like 3 o'clock in the morning.
And you don't shut off your ringer?
Go off. It's the home phone. I forget. I shut off my iPhone ringer, but not the home phone. It's just, who was it? He doesn't know.
Yeah. Anyway.
But,
it begs those weird questions. And I was telling you earlier, I started reading I, Robot by Isaac Asimov. And I definitely want to talk about, robotics and stuff like that more in depth later on down the road. But, these ideas of predicting the future with technology, I think, are the basic stepping stones that are going to get us to that point of true artificial intelligence, something that, thinks in that way. Because they have to make something that adapts to the data and learns.
I think we're many. I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime, but I think we're quite a few years away from.
Well, they're making fucking quantum computers, Steve, and once they...
Oh yeah, I know that.
Once they break that barrier, and it technology just keeps leaping forward. It keeps leaping and leaping and leaping.
I think I said on a previous show, I think probably last year now, but I read somewhere that they're working on organic computers, with organic components, which will actually mimic a human brain more because it's organic, And if they actually ever did that, then I think we're really close. But I don't know how far that technology's gone because I haven't seen anything about it in a while. But right now, I think we're 100 years off.
Oh, yeah,
that's my guess.
I think, I don't know if we'll ever be able to get there personally. I don't know if the data set's too large to ever get there.
Well, when I say 100 years off, I mean 100 years off before we get artificial intelligence that can even start to compile that kind of data,
Right.
because it's a lot of fucking data.
Yeah, and it would have you'd have to be monitoring every little fucking thing on the planet.
Now, I do think, though, even with today's technology, the only accurate way to predict future, I mean, what's the saying? History repeats itself. So in that way, it is possible to predict, which is just basically an opinion of what may happen. It's not an actual telling of the future. But an actual telling of the future, I don't know. That's, because if I put every encyclopedia and every book and the Bible and everything that's ever been written into one computer and have that computer run a program, it may be able to predict, but whether it would be accurate or not,
Well, and you're basically saying that those books are all accurate.
Right. If you just
that baseline, but
that
you can't say that.
Well, we don't know that the Bible is accurate. We don't know that even our history books are accurate because the winner gets to write the history book. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
So even then, our written word and our stuff, the information that we have now is probably not even nearly 100%. So even if they could create something that could predict or tell the future, it's not going to be 100% accurate because we're human and we have flaws, and we're the ones who input that data in the first place.
Right. So I think it's a fascinating new technological world that we're entering, where these things are happening. I don't know where it's going to wind up. I find it wicked fucking interesting.
I'm probably happy that I'm not going to be around when it does end up. The way things are going, it's just.
But when Skynet goes down, Steve's like, "Fuck that shit."
I was watching old episodes of The Twilight Zone. Not the original Twilight Zone, but the remakes from 1985.
Yeah.
Really super cheesy, but they delve into a lot of that kind of stuff. There was one yesterday we watched, and this guy had no compassion. So because he had no compassion, he had to get this thing put on his forehead, and he was considered invisible. Even though everybody could see him, they weren't allowed to talk to him, nothing. And that's the future I see someday, that kind of thing. And he had to wear that for a year.
Yeah, and I saw that movie Predestination with Ethan Hawke, which you have no reference. And that movie goes down the road of you can't escape your future.
Right.
Like you can't. So it is predestined. Like you're gonna go on this path, whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. And I've always found that type of thing fascinating because it makes me question whether or not I actually have any choice. Because I feel like I have choice.
But you don't. You do, but you don't.
So I don't know. Oh God, you start wrapping your head around it, you go, and your fucking brain starts smoking, and you go,
does not compute.
Fuck. I'm wondering when the program's just going to shut down.
If you make choice A, the result is going to be choice B, whether you like it or not. If you make choice B, the result might be choice C, So,
but am I making choice? No. But am I making choice B because I already made choice fucking A 0 year?
I don't know.
Like that's the fucking question.
In the end, that's a question that's not going to get answered.
Right.
So I choose to ignore it and move on.
Good. Do you got any news?
Ignorance is bliss. Have I got news? You bet I've got news. From the mirror.co.uk. A woman claims that her back pain was cured by a Victorian ghost.
Can we get a fucking Victorian ghost over here?
A woman who suffered agonizing back pain for 7 years claims she was cured after being operated on by a ghost doctor from another century. I'm not making this shit up. Barbara Phoenix, 59, was blighted by ill health after being diagnosed with fibromyalgia, a long-term condition causing generalized pain and fatigue in 2007. Mrs. Phoenix assumed
somehow
she would
a
suffer
doctor
forever.
from the past fucking was able to fix it.
She assumed she would suffer forever after painkillers prescribed by her regular doctor failed to have an impact. But after hearing about psychic surgery, she decided to give it a go and says she can now bound up the stairs 2 at a time. I've seen pictures of this woman. There's no way she's bounding up the stairs 2 at a time. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mrs. Phoenix, but that's just my idea.
Your humble opinion?
My humble opinion, yes. She says, I'd feel weak and achy for a number of years. Then after my diagnosis, the pain only got worse. By late 2012, I could barely walk and rarely left the house. I was a regular at the doctor's surgery and was always told the same thing, to take more painkillers. Last year, I had to start gardening and decorating. Oh, what a pity. Desperate and in agony, Mrs. Phoenix of North Wales was prepared to try anything when she heard about ghost doctors through friends who were interested in the paranormal. On their recommendation, she emailed a man called Vincent Fuller from Reading, Berkshire.
She called a man named Vincent Price.
Psychic surgeons have no medical training, really, but supposedly channel spirits to help people who are ill, she said. Alan was really supportive, and in June, Alan's her husband, by the way. In June last year, Vincent traveled to Wales to meet her. She invited some friends for support and gathered at a local hall. The atmosphere was quite eerie, Mrs. Phoenix said. But then something extraordinary happened. A man called Dr. Charles arrived, she said. Speaking through Vincent, Dr. Charles told us how he'd been born in the 1880s and died at age 86. General practitioner by trade, he'd been helping people from the other side ever since. One friend asked why he operated on people when he trained as a general practitioner. Another wondered if medicine had changed.
He said, because I'm a con man.
His answer was, now get this, Chris, I've got the knowledge of the universe.
He understands the data set, Steve.
Yes, now get this. Satisfied with his explanation, Mrs. Phoenix invited Mr. Fuller to her house after a few days later. He told me to lie down on my stomach. Then suddenly Vincent became Dr. Charles. He slipped into a semi-trance, his eyes glazing over, and he circled his hands in the air above me. I felt like my organs were moving, like I was pregnant with, and the baby was kicking. A woman in a nurse's uniform appeared before Vincent.
It was not weird at all that he had his fingers inside my vagina.
Anyway, her pain went away. Dr. Charles.
When I came, my back pain instantly vanished.
God almighty, that's a great story. Oh, here's another good one from the dailystar.co.uk. Did a spaceship really land in Prince Charles's uncle's garden?
No.
Charles, 66, and his dad, Prince Philip, 93, allegedly had flying saucer review posted in unmarked envelopes after the tragic Lord Montalban saw an interstellar craft. The astonishing claim was made by retired doctor turned UFO expert.
I saw Interstellar. I wasn't impressed.
Stephen Greer. Dr. Greer, 59, also said he helped supply Charles with documents on alien encounters at the London premiere of the Star Trek film First Contact in 1996. Of course, where else would you do that? The former A&E medic told the Daily Star, the late publisher, who was former British intelligence,
He handed it to him and he said, make it show.
Gordon Crichton told me personally that the royal family received it on a regular basis. Prince Philip and Prince Charles were very interested in it. He told me that he saw to it personally that they received it. The way it was delivered was in an unmarked envelope. They wanted it quiet. Dr. Greer added, you can trace this back to the event of this object, where this object landed on Lord Montalban's palace, or what place it actually says. You're not going to dismiss someone you love and trust the way you would some wild story you heard in the pub. Lord Montauban was assassinated by an IRA boat bomb while fishing off the coast of Ireland in 1979. Dr. Greer, who lives near Washington, D.C., also claimed he received
Pam Greer?
Stephen Greer.
Oh.
A glowing note from Charles' secretary after providing him with the ET dossier. He said, a briefing I put together for President Clinton was handed off by a famous movie star,
Jackie Brown?
James Cromwell. No, James Cromwell, at an opening in London at the request of Prince Charles. You might know Stephen Greer from the Disclosure Project. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, Chris.
No.
No, okay. I have. They had this big old press conference a few years back, and all these, like astronauts and airline pilots and people who work for NASA, they had it in Washington, D.C., and it was covered by, CNN and that shit, so it was pretty cool. In my opinion, Dr. Greer is a click whore, but that's my opinion. From patch.com. Sorry, Dr. Greer, if you're listening, I just went off on a tangent. I really do respect you. Not really.
Wow.
Yeah. Patch.com. An antique book show coming to town March 6th and 7th will feature expensive, historic, and rare books. One of the quirkiest will be a book published in 1896 by a Northern California miner who penned an ode to Bigfoot. Some say this is the first mention of the elusive and mystical creature. The book, titled The Hermit of Siskiyou, or The Twice Old Man, is a 19th century poem by L.W. Musick. Local bookseller Brian Cassidy will be bringing a first edition copy published in 1896 to booth number 10. Here is a brief description of the book.
I spent some time in booth...
The other booth 10.
No.
Not the one at your local adult
bookstore?
Movie store.
Oh.
Yeah. The 19th century Northern California imprint is a long doggerel poem, but with one very interesting feature. It is the first to mention, in book form, of the legend of Bigfoot. The book actually says, you have seen and heard the story, too, of how upon Mount Siskiyou, we seen an ape or spook or tramp in region near the Happy
You've read
Camp.
the book, now see the movie.
Some years gone by. That was of stature taller than the ordinary height of man, who fed on berries, roots, and grouse, and from whose eye there gleamed the fierceness of the beast. The appendix reprints a newspaper account of the Bigfoot sighting, possibly the only place this account survives. Only an 1884 Canadian newspaper account of Sasquatch precedes. According to census records, Musick was a miner. Interestingly, his daughter Irene is listed as a printer. OCLC locates about 20 copies, almost all on the West Coast, but they are rare in trade. And that, Chris, is the news.
As always, riveting.
Of course it is. I read it. Maybe that phone call was from the ghost doctor.
No. This has been episode 66 of the Fortean Slip. If you like this shit, hit the like button. If you don't, hit the little thumbs down button. Leave a comment. Subscribe. Share this shit around somewhere. Tell people it's a
Andy Kaufman,
bag of horse shit. What's that?
Andy Kaufman went to a psychic surgeon. Look what happened to him.
He died.
Yeah. It must not have been Dr. Charles.
Fucking Bob Zamuda is still fucking riding that wave. Just standing on a fucking surfboard, just fucking right down to the fucking bottom.
Kaufman is alive.